In this walkthrough, we're going to secure network traffic using network security groups and application security groups. We're going to create a virtual network and a subnet. We're going to create two application security groups, one for management servers and one for web servers. We'll then create a network security group, and we're going to associate that network security group to the subnet. Within that network security group, we're then going to create two inbound security rules, one to allow RDP traffic in over port 3389, and then one to allow web traffic in over ports 80 and 443. We'll then create two virtual machines, one to represent a management server and one to represent a web server. And we'll associate those virtual machines with their respective application security groups. So ASG management servers and ASG web servers. And then with the network security group. We'll then test the network security rules that we've created. So let's go ahead and create a virtual network. So we sign into the Azure portal, click create a resource, select networking and virtual network. For a name, call it VNet1. For the address space, specify 10.0.0.0/16. Select a subscription. For resource group, click create new. Enter a new resource group name. In our case, it'll be NetSecRG. Click OK. Select the location. Here we'll select East US. For a subnet name, we'll call it subnet1. For address range, we'll use 10.0.0.0/24. Leave the remaining items as the default values and click create. And while that's creating, we'll go ahead and create two application security groups. So again, we click create a resource. In the search the marketplace box, type application security group. Click create. In the create an application security group pane, on the basics tab, select your subscription, select the resource group. We'll place all our items into the same resource group. For name, we're going to use ASG web servers, and this is the application security group into which we'll place our sample web server. And for location, select East US. All our resources will be located in the East US region. Click review and create. Validation is passed, and then click create. So while that's deploying, let's create a second application security group, this time for our management servers. So again, click create a resource. In the search the marketplace box, type application security group. Click create. Select our subscription and the same resource group we created earlier. For name, we'll use ASG management servers. This is the application security group into which we're going to place all of our management servers. And for region, select East US again. Click review and create. And then create. And again, while that's underway, the next thing we want to do is create our network security group. So again, go to create a resource, click on networking, and select network security group. We'll call it NSG1, select our subscription, select the same resource group we created earlier, and again we select East US as the location. Then click create. So now you want to associate that network security group to a subnet. And that subnet will be the subnet we just created when we created our virtual network. So if we go to resource groups, locate our resource group, open it. We can see all the items we've created here. We can see our two application security groups. We can see our network security group and our virtual network. We want to open our network security group. Under settings, go to subnets. Click associate, select our virtual network. Select the subnet. We only have one subnet created. Select that, subnet 1, and then click OK. And that associates our network security group and any rules which we created within that network security group to that particular subnet. So next we want to create some security rules. So still in your network security group, under settings, go to inbound security rules. So click add. And in our add inbound security rule pane, for source, select any. For source port ranges, leave the wild character to indicate any range. For destination, we have a few different contexts here in how we can apply our security rule. We'll select application security group. Under the application security group, we want to select our web servers. For destination port ranges, we want ports 80 and 443. Protocol, we want TCP. Action, we want to allow. We leave the priority at 100. And for name, we'll call it allow web all. Then click add. So you want to create another inbound security rule, this time to allow RDP traffic go over port 3389 for our management servers. So we click add. And in the add inbound security rule pane, for source, we leave any. Port ranges, we leave the wild character again to indicate any range. For destination, we choose application security group. We choose our ASG management servers application group. For destination port ranges, we want port 3389. Protocols TCP. Action is again allow. We leave the default priority value of 110. And for name, we'll call it allow RDP all. and click Add. So we can see those two inbound security rules are now added to the web traffic over port 18443, and that's assigned to our web servers application group. And we have the RDP traffic over port 3389 to our management servers application security group. So the next thing we want to do are create our virtual machines. So if you open up the Azure Cloud Shell from within the Azure portal by clicking the Cloud Shell icon, we'll leave it in the PowerShell context and we'll copy in our Azure Client command. Press enter, and that's starting the deployment of the first virtual machine. We can see this is our management virtual machine. We've called it VM MGMT1 for VM Management 1. We've added it to the virtual network and subnet 1 and also to the network security group. And we've made it a member of the ASG Management Servers Application Security Group, all part of that deployment command. So we need to wait until that's deployed before we can create our second virtual machine, and that's completed. So we'll go ahead now and create our second virtual machine. We'll paste in our Azure Client command and press enter. And we can see again, this is our web server. We've named it VM Web 1. We've added it to the virtual network VNet 1 and the subnet 1, as well as the network security group NSG1. And we've added it as a member of the ASG Web Servers Application Security Group as well. And that's been completed successfully. So if you open up the resource group, close our Azure Cloud Shell pane, we can see all the resources that we've created. So the next thing we want to do is to test the traffic filters and the rules that we created. So open up our VM Management 1 virtual machine, and let's connect to that over RDP by clicking the connect button. Click download RDP file, click open, click connect, enter the username as your user, put in a dot backslash beside it, specify the context of the local machine for the user account, enter the password, click yes to connect in the certificate message dialog. And this connection succeeds because port 3389 is allowed in our inbound connections from the internet to the management servers application security group, which the VM Management 1 virtual machine is a member of. And we created those rules in our network security group and applied them to the application security groups. Click no on our network discovery prompt, close server manager. So from within our VM Management virtual machine, we're going to connect to our web virtual machine. We can do that by launching PowerShell, clicking the start button, type PowerShell, right click it and select run as administrator. To open up an RDP connection to the VM web server, run the command mstsc-v, specify the virtual machine name, which is VM Web 1. Enter our username and password again. Click yes on the certificate prompt. And we can see that connected successfully from the VM management server to our VM web server. And we're able to connect to the VM web server virtual machine from the management server virtual machine because virtual machines in the same virtual network can communicate with each other over any port by default. We'll leave those remote desktop connections open for the moment as we'll return to them later. So next we'll try to connect to our VM Web 1 virtual machine through the portal by clicking the connect button. So we go back to our VM Web 1 virtual machine in the Azure portal, open it up, click connect, click download RDP file, click open, click connect. And you can see we can't create a remote desktop connection to the VM Web 1 virtual machine from the internet because the security rule for the ASG web servers doesn't allow port 3389. Port 3389 was only opened for the management servers, which we connected to earlier on. So let's return to our RDP connections that are open for our management server and our VM Web 1 server. So we can click no on our network discovery prompt, minimize server manager, and we're still in the RDP connection in VM Web 1 through our VM Management 1 server. So we're going to install IIS on this Web 1 virtual machine to simulate a functioning web server. And to do that, we'll open PowerShell. So click on Start, type PowerShell, right click it, and choose Run as Administrator. Paste the PowerShell command, install Windows feature, -name web server, -include management tools, and hit return. And we can see that ran successfully. So we can close the RDP connections, return to our VM Web 1 virtual machine where we want to note the public IP address of the web server. Click copy to copy the public IP address, open a new tab in a browser and go to that address. You can see the IIS welcome page, which we just installed in our VM Web 1 virtual machine. Port 80 is allowed in the inbound connections from the internet for the ASG web servers group, which this web server is a member of. That's why we can access this IIS web page. Whereas we weren't able to access the RDP page because port 3389 wasn't open for RDP, but it is open over port 80. So in this walkthrough, we've created a virtual network and a subnet. We created 2 application security groups, one for management servers, one for web servers. We created a network security group and associated that network security group to the subnet that we created earlier. We then created 2 inbound security rules, one to allow RDP all traffic over port 3389, one to allow web traffic over port 80 and 443. We then created 2 virtual machines, one to represent the management servers, one to represent the web servers, and we made those virtual machines members of their respective application security groups and had those network security group rules applied to those application security groups, and we then tested the network security rules that we created.